Hi, I'm Kenny Anderson, Director of Multicultural Affairs for the City of Huntsville, and welcome to Impact. Each week we bring you information about exciting things that are happening in our community, and today will be no different. One of the things that I love to do on this show is share resources about things that are happening in our community that I think have a wide-ranging impact on so many people's lives. And of course, today is going to be one of those conversations. For over 100 years, the American Cancer Society has provided life-saving services, education, and advocacy for people facing that dreadful disease. And we have not overcome yet, but we've got so many things in place that are very promising. And we're going to talk about some of those things today and how that effort is being experienced right here on the local level. With me today is Chris Gattis. He is Communication Chair for the Board of the American Cancer Society, and we welcome him back to Impact. You were here wearing a different hat once before, but welcome back.
That's right. Thanks, Kenny. Appreciate you having us on.
Always good to have you because I know you always bring great information too. One day I'm going to ask you to sing.
Okay. I don't know if that one will make the air or not.
But I know that's one of the fun things you get to do in your other life as well.
Right.
So you never know. Maybe a duet?
That's possible.
Yeah, you never know. Justin Thomas is here today with us. Justin is Senior Market Manager for Communication Engagement with the Mid-South Division of the American Cancer Society. And we welcome you to the broadcast as well today.
Thank you. I appreciate you having us here.
It's good to have both of you here because anytime we get a chance to talk about this disease, which of course has such a wide-ranging impact on people's lives, it's a good conversation to have. And I know just from the perspective of awareness, advocacy, education, and all the other great things that happen with the American Cancer Society, you guys have all the answers for me today.
That's right.
We'll try to squeeze it in.
There you go. You know, we always are out in the community talking about money, and so we wanted an opportunity today to talk about our mission.
Yeah.
What do we do with all that money?
Yeah.
Now we still have to raise money because we fund researchers all over the country. In fact, we have over 800 researchers working on grants for the American Cancer Society right now across the country and across all different kinds of cancer. Yeah. So we have to raise lots of money. And people can support us by participating in the Relay for Life or the golf tournament or the gala or any of the other events that we have around town throughout the year. Those are always they're fun events typically, and they help us raise the money to do what we do. But today we really want to talk about the other part of the American Cancer Society, and that's the service to the community.
I think that's great too because you do generate a lot of money sometimes in organizations like this, and people do wonder, where does that money go and how is it really making an impact? How does it make a difference? How does that dollar that I donate make a difference? So talk to us a little bit about what's happening right now as it relates to the research and some of the other kinds of things that are going on.
Sure. Well, like Chris was saying, we are the largest private funder of cancer research in the country. We always have been. We're only second to the federal government, and so we are excited to be able to report that nearly every major cancer breakthrough and treatment over the past 30 years has been funded by our researchers. And we're able to fund that research because of the events that Chris was talking about. Currently, we're funding approximately $177 million worth of research across the country. $6.3 million worth of research just right here in the state of Alabama, funding 11 researchers doing incredible work that we're sure is going to yield some answers. You know, we talk often about at the heart of our mission is the want to eliminate cancer as a threat, you know, to us and to our families and friends and to our community. And so we know that we're going to do that by turning what we don't know about cancer into what we do know about cancer. And so largely, a large part of what we do is fund research and looking for that one cure, and then along the way, coming up with new treatments with less side effects to make cancer more of a manageable disease.
You know, cancer's been hanging over, my lifetime for my entire lifetime, almost 60 years now for me. And the reality is that it's been there like this big boogeyman hovering over our lives in so many different ways. catching people in the prime of their lives, catching people or putting them in some very precarious situations and positions financially, medically, and posing tremendous challenges on families and things of that nature. Is what we're experiencing in 2015 any less scary and frightening than it was, say, 20, 25 years ago? Has the research advanced down the field far enough for us to really start seeing some light at the end of that tunnel?
Yeah, it really has. When you're sitting in front of the doctor and he says you have cancer, that's no less frightening today than it's ever been for the individual. But across all the cancers, we're making some really great progress. I have prostate cancer, and the way that I'm being treated today is different than I would have been treated even 5, 6 years ago. And so the research that's being done is leading to real world answers. And so, it's not just make-believe. Mm-hmm. It's not just we're throwing a ton of money into a pile and we just we never see any outcome. We're seeing real developments. In fact, we were talking about one of our newest efforts is 18 by 80, and Justin will talk about that in just a second. That colorectal cancer is down 30%.
Wow.
And that's because people are getting screened. They're taking the time to get the testing done. We can prevent that disease. And part of that's just getting the information out to people so that they know. I mean, nobody likes to have one of these colonoscopies. That's a bad word. We don't like that. Mm-hmm. But, if you just have them done on a regular basis, they can prevent you from dying. Absolutely.
And provide you with information that you need. I'm an African-American male. When I crossed the 50 threshold, in fact, I had my first colonoscopy by the age of 50. Mm-hmm. I've had 2 since that time. And it's something that I want to make sure that I stay very much connected with. My prostate is checked at least twice a year on a minimum. And anytime there's a health fair and they're talking about PSAs and antigen testing, I'm out there checking it out, getting it done, because you're absolutely right. Being proactive has kind of demystified the fear mm-hmm. of this whole process. And it's the research that's being done, it's the treatments that are available, but it's also our opportunity through the educational efforts. Right. That help prepare us so much better.
Sure. So, to Chris's point, it is still a very scary thing to hear that you have cancer, but I think on this day in 2015, it is much different than, say, 20, 25 years ago. Just since 1991, cancer mortality rates have decreased by 22%.
It's significant.
That's huge. Mm-hmm. That's huge, and it's due in part because of all of the new treatments that we have and the new screening methods that we have, and the focus is on early detection and prevention, and that has become something that the American Cancer Society has put a renewed focus on, because I say often to people all across North Alabama that the best cancer to have is the cancer that never exists. And people are so surprised to hear that colorectal cancer is the 3rd leading cause of cancer death among men and women alike, and it's a completely preventable disease. So, as Chris was saying, we do have a new initiative. It's called 80 by 18, and it's a nationwide initiative that we are leading, 140 partner organizations, in the effort to increase colorectal cancer screening rates to 80% by the year 2018. Wow. You would be surprised how many people, just in the state of Alabama, 1 in 3 eligible adults is not getting screened. And colorectal cancer in particular is completely preventable and certainly treatable and beatable if it's found early enough. But what we see oftentimes is that people are starting to ask for the screening once they've presented symptoms. And at that point, oftentimes it may be too late. It may have already turned into cancer. And so, our hope is, and we have staff on the ground in the trenches in North Alabama working with primary care facilities, giving them resources, giving them the tools that they need to have that conversation with people. So that they do understand how very important it is to get screened for colorectal cancer.
Yeah, and I love what you all are saying. You've said it a few times, and I want to make sure that we shine a light on it at this moment because early detection is the key to this whole conversation.
Absolutely.
I mean, we can chase the rabbit down the hole all day long in terms of trying to find cures and get
Absolutely.
treatment and those kinds of things. But if people would become more proactively engaged in their own health, knowing their family history,
Right.
getting or taking advantage of those medical screenings is very important. So I'm gonna give you guys a chance now to make a big pitch for early detection.
Sure.
And how people can go about doing that.
Yeah, you absolutely have to, get your physicals based on whatever your age is. Just, do what you're supposed to do. And if you go and get those physicals and you have your screenings like the doctor recommends, most of the kinds of cancers you can get will either get caught very early and are easy to deal with, or they can be prevented altogether. I've got a fair-skinned Irish blood, so I go to the dermatologist to make sure that I don't have any issues with melanoma or other types of skin cancer. That can easily be prevented with just a little bit of precaution.
Yeah.
And that really goes across the board to most types of cancers. If people will just get the screens and get their physicals on a regular basis, they're going to be okay.
Yeah, and the fear of, or the excuse of not knowing, I'd rather not know, or it's scary to know, is really an oxymoron.
It
because
is.
it's kind of like, if you know better how to respond and address.
Right.
And you have a much better chance of surviving by knowing than
Right.
not knowing.
And more often than not, when people, if you find it early, it can be dealt with. Yes, it's going to be an event in your life it's going to change your life. It is going to be scary to face, but it could save your life. And by putting off those decisions to screen yourself early is really just prolonging the inevitable. Because if you have the cancer, it's going to stay there until you address it. I would just say to most people to really take the personal responsibility to educate yourself. We talk often about how important education is in removing the fear from cancer. The more information you have, not just on a diagnosis, but also on prevention and the screening itself, the more information you have, the less scary the situation becomes. And so I would push people to our website, cancer.org. We have the largest database of information on cancer that you could possibly think of. People all over the world use that resource. We are the authority on cancer. We are the authority on early detection and prevention. And so go to that website and look at the screening guidelines for whatever cancer you may be concerned about, or whatever screenings you should be looking at based on your age. And then make it a point to have a conversation with your doctor. Our hope is that the primary care physicians are always initiating those conversations, but even physicians are busy and they get caught up in every day trying to get one patient out and the next patient in. And so oftentimes preventative care gets pushed to the back burner because they're trying to deal with the today, the here and the now. And so they may not talk to you about the preventative tests that you should have based on your age. And so we as individuals have to make it a point to initiate that conversation with a doctor. And we have tools online at cancer.org that you can print off and take with you into the doctor that will help you navigate that conversation.
And pay attention to those signs and symptoms that you may be familiar with or something unusual that starts occurring. Don't
Absolutely.
Ignore it.
Absolutely.
Actually address it. Guys, it's really been great talking to you today. Chris Gattis, again, is Communication Chair of the American Cancer Society at the local level here. We thank you for all you do.
Thank you.
All right. And Justin Thomas is Senior Marketing and Manager of Communication Engagement with the Mid-South Division of the American Cancer Society. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having us.
And that website again is?
Cancer.org.
Very easy to remember.
Yes.
It's no excuse. You think about the disease and put a .org on the back.
That's right.
And you're there with all the tools and information necessary to get on top of this.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you.
We want to thank you for being a part of our discussion today as well, and we hope that you'll join us for our next edition of Impact. In the meantime, I hope that you have a great rest of the day. Take care.